And for today's discussion, we will consider four bills with regard to regulating vape and e-cigarettes, heated tobacco products. We've invited resource persons from the industry, from health groups, from consumers groups. I'd like to recognize the presence of Senator Amy Marcos with us today. One of the proponents of the measure also filed a Senate bill. Senator Cayetano, I understand that she's with us too. Another author, our Majority Leader, Mig Subiri, the Chairman of the Committee on Health, Bongo. And may I request our Committee Secretary, Jingle, to acknowledge our resource persons for this morning. Jingle?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. For today's public hearing, we have resource persons. From the government sector, we have from the Department of Trade and Industry, Undersecretary Ruth Castelo, Mr. Mario Gaudiano, and Engineer Avelino Molina Jr. From the Department of Health, Food and Drug Administration, we have Director General Rolando Enrique Domingo, Engineer Ana Trinidad Rivera, and Ms. Irene Florentino Fariñas. From the Department of Foreign Affairs, we have Ms. Christine Sale, Ms. Emma Sarne, Ms. Maria Tanya Gaurano, and Ms. Rain Mendoza. From the private sector, we have from the Better For You Corporation, Jewel Labs, Manila, Mr. Carlo Castro, with Mr. Mario Zinampan and Dr. Cole Burbridge. From the Japan Tobacco International Philippines, we have Attorney Jose Paulo Patajo and Mr. Robert Eugenio. From the Relax Technology, we have Mr. Jonathan Nang and Mr. Eddie Slim. From the Philip Morris Fortune Tobacco Corporation, we have Attorney Arnaldo Carino and Ms. Giselle Baker. From the Philippine E-Cigarette Industry Association, we have Mr. Joey Dulay. From the Vapors Philippines, we have Mr. Peter Paul Dator. From the Health Tobacco Control Groups, we have the Child Rights Network, Ms. Antoinette Flores. From the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control Alliance, we have Mr. Romel Ariola. From the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control Program Manager, Southeast Asia Tobacco Control Alliance, we have Dr. Ulysses Doroteo. From the Philippine Academy of Pediatric Pulmonologists, we have Dr. Regina Canonizado. The Philippine College of Chest Physicians, we have Dr. Laina Ong Cabrera. From the Philippine Medical Association, we have Dr. Maria Mercedes Agustin. From the Philippine Pediatric Society Tobacco Control Advocacy Group, we have Dr. Rizalina Gonzalez. From Quit for Good Incorporated, we have Dr. Lorenzo Mata. We also have key opinion leader, Dr. Raymond Miaura. From the consumer and other groups, we have the Laban Consumer Incorporated, Attorney Victoria Mario de Magiba. From the Nicotine Consumers Union of the Philippines, we have Mr. Antonio Israel. And from Vape Per Ako Consumer Group, we have Mr. Jose Ramon Garcia. From the Ad Standards Councils Incorporated, we have Attorney Reggie Ularbal and Attorney Rafael Kalinisan. From the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development Foundation Incorporated, we have Mr. Romeo Dongueto and Ms. Aurora Ochilala. For now, Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Jingle. To begin with, let me first make an opening statement that one, there are four bills under consideration. All of them seek to regulate the industry. There are six major issues for discussion. The first would be age restriction. The second would be an online trade. The third are flavors. The fourth would be health warning. The fifth, product notification, license to operate, or product registration. And the sixth would be jurisdiction or the regulatory agency. Okay. I think these are the 6 major points, no, for discussion. Okay. Now, having said that, I propose that we go over the matrix or the bill or bills page by page, section by section, in the interest of time. No? Now, all of you may have a position paper, comments, remarks on the 4 bills. We encourage you to submit all your written position papers to the committee secretariat. Would that be fine with everyone? Okay. And then since there's a lot of us today, maybe we can keep our comments brief and straight to the point. Would that be fine with everyone too? Okay, so we'll do it page by page, section by section. But before we begin, may I introduce or may I request also, there might be authors of some of the measures that we're considering today who may want to make an opening statement. So let me first call Senator Cayetano if she's present and ready, and if she's interested to make an opening statement. Jingle, is Senator Cayetano with us?
Sir, she's not yet on board.
Okay, maybe later on when she is on board. No? What about Majority Leader Mig Subiri? Would you like to make an opening statement? Is he with us right now?
Sir, parating pa lang din po. Wala pa po, sir.
Okay, so let's begin. Let's begin on the first page. So page 1. Maybe there might not be a need to discuss the short title. So can we move to section 2? I'd like to recognize also our Minority Leader Frank Dilon, who's with us this morning. Thank you, Frank, for being with us this morning. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm actually here. I was
Hi, Pia.
but
Yes.
Hi, good
Sure.
morning. I couldn't turn on my video. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can see you. Good morning, Pia.
Thank you.
Would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Yes, please proceed. Yes.
Yes. So good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning to all our resource persons and everyone attending. I agree with the format of the chair. But I'd just like to put on record that a number of those issues have just been resolved in the syntax bill. No, I mean, I think those who are familiar with it would know, but obviously this is a very important hearing that the public, that will is a very important hearing that will be part of our legislative history. So I do want to emphasize that the syntax law, which was passed barely a year ago, resolved already the issue on the flavors, on the issue of age, and on the issue of the jurisdiction of the FDA and DOH. I also filed the bill, and I thank the chair for including it. It was not in the original agenda, so perhaps some of the resource persons have not had a chance to look at it, but it's a comprehensive bill as well on the regulations of e-cigarettes and vapes. I'm sure we can just discuss it as we go along. And then on that note, I would just like to reiterate what I put on record on the floor last week, that this is a very important health measure. I submit to the decision of the Senate majority, or the majority rules, because I did not put it to a vote, that the hearings will be conducted by this committee. But I do not change my position that this is a health measure and that this should have been led by the health committee. On that note, I trust the chair. I've had a good working relationship with his honor, and I truly hope that we can continue to work together, because I don't believe that there is any senator who would, in good conscience, promote the use of a product to the youth, no, in particular. So we can discuss that. We can discuss it in detail later on. I know that his honor, like many former smokers, have been able to use and benefit from the e-cigs, no? And I think His Honor wouldn't mind that I mention it because he talked about it himself. But we also talked about that this is a product that should not be in the hands of youth, and we should be very vigilant about the regulations because the uptake of the youth in our country is very strong. Later on, maybe not in the hearing, maybe even on the floor, but as needed, I hope His Honor would allow me because I actually went to WHO for a 3-day discussion or actually lectures by health experts. And then I also went to London where we met with various experts and academicians on how the e-cig industry was working in the United Kingdom, and it's very different from the Philippines because they do not have a issue anymore on cigarette uptake in the youth, and that's why their ability to use e-cigs for adults who are using it as a cessation tool is very different from ours, very different from us because the landscape, the environment is very different. I'll go into it in more detail later on, but I just wanted to explain and put on record that is the background I have in preparation for Syntax, which is not very different from what we are doing now because we took into consideration the health aspect when we were passing the legislation on taxation, because taxation was used also as a means to regulate the use of cigarettes at that time, alternatives to cigarettes at that time. So I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the time, and I look forward to this discussion.
Thank you very much, Senator Pia. And yes, we agree with you that our intention here is not to provide these products to underage or to minors. No. Now, Jingle, the rules of the game will be that those who may want to speak will raise their hand using the function in WebEx. Okay. Now, I may not see everyone, so Jingle, you could assist me if there are other people who are raising their hand.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I can only see one page of the screen, no? Okay, so thank you for that. Again, Senator Pia. As I mentioned earlier, just to make sure, there seems to be 6 major points of discussion. The first will be with regard to age, online trade, flavors, health warning, product notification, regulatory agency jurisdiction, okay? Based on the 4 bills that we have, no? So let me begin. Page by page, we've provided everyone with a matrix, including the bill of Senator Pia. I hope everyone has a copy. We can start with page 1. Section 2, Declaration of Policy.
Sir, if you
Yes,
want,
Jingle?
sir, I can share the matrix, sir, for everyone if you own it, sir.
Okay, please proceed, yes. Although if we share it, I think everyone has a copy of the matrix. The problem is we won't see them raising their hands, no? Okay, so not much difference, no? As far as the declaration of policy, there are minor differences. With everyone's permission, let me move to section 3. Section 3 is definition of terms, no? Maybe we can get back to this later on because it all depends on the final version of the bill, whether or not we will need some of those terms being defined here. Okay, so maybe we can go to section 4. And section 4 will be found on page 9 of the matrix. And this is one of the areas of concern, no? Packaging and health warning. Okay. Are there any comments? This is a major area of concern.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, Arnie Carino here from PMFTC. I couldn't find the raise hand button, so apologies.
Okay.
spoke out. I'd like to make some comment on this specific provision. Well, for us, it is our view that health warnings for heated tobacco products and electronic nicotine delivery systems should be differentiated. We support putting health warnings, just to be very clear, we support putting health warnings on these products. But for us, our view is that there should be differentiated health warnings, as these products are fundamentally different from cigarettes because of the absence of combustion. So we hope that the committee can take into account that cigarette-style health warnings should not be made to apply these products. But again, to be very clear, we support putting health warnings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you for that. Could we hear from a health advocate? Jingle, is there anyone? Maybe I see Dr. Dance is with us. Would you like to make a comment?
Sir, raising.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'll defer to others at this point.
Okay. Would there be okay, any other health advocate that would want to state his or her or their position at this point in time?
Sir, Dr. Ulysses po is raising.
Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. I actually also wanted to comment on the earlier section, but I think we can go back to that. But on this particular section, our position is that the current law already mandates the requirement of graphic health warnings on these products because they are sin products, they are harmful products. And it is already proven by evidence that text warnings are not as effective as pictorial health warnings. And that's why they are actually promoted in many countries as well as by the WHO as international best practice. And there is evidence to support this, Your Honor. So we would really recommend that we maintain the current mandate to require graphic health warnings under the syntax law. Thank you, Your Honor.
In other jurisdictions, like in the United States, do they use graphic health warnings on vape or heated tobacco products, or do they use text warning?
In the US, they do not even require graphic warnings on cigarettes because tobacco companies have challenged this in court under commercial free speech, no? But we don't have that here, and many other countries actually don't. Korea has graphic health warnings on electronic cigarettes and heated tobacco products, Your Honor.
Okay. Could someone provide us a list of countries who have graphic health warnings and or text warnings? Could some of the resource persons provide the committee with this information?
Yeah, yes, Honor, Arnie Carino here again. We can share that to the committee. As you know, we operate in most of the countries around the world, so we will be able to share with you the regulatory environment.
Of course.
For the countries that
Okay.
where we.
Are there any other health advocates who want to speak at this point in time on the graphic warning or health warning? Whether it should be graphic or text and what size? Well, the bills are talking about 30% or 50%. If I'm not mistaken, tobacco products is 50%. Okay, so I'm amenable to 50%. The question only is whether it should be graphic or text. I think there's one person who wanted to speak. Jane?
Yes,
One of the health advocates. Yes.
yes, I'm Dr. Maricar Limpin, Maria Encarnita Limpin from the
Yes,
Philippine
please.
College of Physicians.
Yes,
Yes,
please. Continue.
PCP will strongly support graphic health warnings on electronic nicotine delivery systems, also on electronic non-nicotine delivery systems, as well as the heated tobacco products and other similar products. And we would like to present that right now what we have is 50%. So a 50% graphic health warning will be what we will be supporting at the very minimum, but maybe we can even increase it to 75%, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Jingle, there was another person who wanted to speak.
Yes, sir, from the Ad Standard Council. Nauna po siya, si Attorney Hilarbal.
Okay, attorney, please continue. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I just wanted to point it out that there are actually two products here, the device and the mixture itself. So just for purposes of packaging later on, the distinction should be made in the provisions of the proposed bills.
Yes,
That's all.
I think there's a distinction when it comes to my particular bill, no, between the device itself and the consumables. And isn't it that the graphic or weather tech or the health warning should be on the consumables and
Yes.
not on the device?
Actually, because the reference history is tobacco products, it's on the product itself. As to the device, it's more on the safety use warning.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that.
Your Honor, may I be allowed again?
Who is this?
This is Dr. Limpin.
Yeah, doctor, could we have first another person to speak? There were a few others who wanted to speak earlier. Jingle, can you help me out with the?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Under Secretary Castelo, and then from the FDA po.
Okay, please continue. Yes.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. The DTI supports the inclusion of graphic health warnings, Mr. Chair, on the packaging, not only of the refillable, but also on the product, the device itself. And we would also support the inclusion of other details that the consumers would need to know, such as the components of each device or the ingredients of the e-liquid, and then instructional materials as well would prove very important, Mr. Chair. And we would also like to suggest that the context and format of labels on package text, Mr. Chair, will be in accordance with the provisions of the Consumer Act on labeling.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ruth. Joey Dule was raising his hand earlier. Joey, would you like to say something?
Yes, Your Honor. We don't. We support the graphic health warning as long as it is appropriate and truthful to the product. Because some graphic health warnings on cigarette packs shows lung cancer or it causes gangrene. It might not be appropriate to e-cigarette products or vapor products, Senator.
Okay, thank you for that, Joey. Any other before we move on to the next section? Okay, there being none. But you're all free to submit your position papers on this particular section. Yeah, someone wanted to speak. The gentleman in the jacket.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, from the Department of Health. We would
Okay,
just like
Department of
to
Health first. Yes, please continue.
suggest that the graphic health warning should be included in the unit product in any outside packaging of ends and HTPs, including the electronic juices and refill containers. No? And it should be, it should include that the JHW should include that will be included will be compliant with the provisions of RA 10643, which is the graphic health warnings law, and that it should be made that it cannot be removed, altered, or modified by heating and other means. The graphic health warning shall not also be obscured by any product design or any device modification. And lastly, the ends and HTPs unit products and any communication materials should not bear any health claims, or that it can be used as smoking cessation device or as an alternative to smoking, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. The other person who wanted to speak earlier, Jingle, could you help me?
Dr. Limpin po.
No, there's another person first before we go back to her. Yes. I think the guy in the beige jacket with glasses. Yes. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Can you hear? Can you hear, Senator?
Lorenzo Mata, yes. You know, I can't, your names don't come out, so it's hard for me to call it.
Yeah.
Do we have a function that the names come out so I can call them?
It's there already, I think.
Yeah, it's there right now, but you know, none of the others, right? Okay. Okay. Mr. Mata, please proceed.
Okay, we in Quit for Good agree that we should put health warnings also on our product because they are not risk-free and they contain nicotine, which is an addictive substance. And therefore, products should also carry health warnings. But applying the same health warnings to tobacco and nicotine products might confuse consumers and lead to continued cigarette smoking. So health warnings for HTPs and vaping products should also address the specific risks of those products in a way that leaves smokers with a clear understanding of how those risks compare to the risks of cigarette smoking, just to give them a distinction of it. Okay.
So there are those who are distinguishing between vape, heated tobacco, and that of tobacco products. And that there are those saying that the warning should be different.
Yes.
While there are those saying it should comply with the tobacco health warning law. Okay?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Senator Pia?
Two things just to aid you in identifying your speakers. If you drag your cursor to the picture of their face, the name will pop out.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Thank you.
I just figured it out now myself when you were saying accent yung names. As you move it along, the names will come out.
That's right. That's right. I can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the point only that I'd like to make to add to the discussion is that I'm happy to hear that everyone is amenable to health warnings. I certainly hope that it's graphic health warnings because we already debated this long and hard and we shouldn't deviate from that. But as to whether we distinguish or not, I think that can be a fairly simple decision, Mr. Chair. Let's look at what the international experts have to say. If they are already differentiating, if WHO will differentiate between the harmful effects of regular cigarettes and these alternatives, then I think we can follow that. But if there has been no categorical differentiation, then we should not differentiate yet. No, I know that debate is still ongoing. So if that debate is still ongoing, we should err on the side of prudence and not say that this is better or this is better or safer. If that is not yet clear, if it is clear, I have no problem. But if it is not yet clear, then we cannot make those distinctions, Mr. Chair. So that's what I just want to put on the record. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Pia. I think it's a fair statement. No? But in the bills at present, in the 4 bills at present, there are 3 talking about text warning and 1 graphic warning. Okay. Any other resource persons who may want to say their piece on this issue?
Your Honor, I'm Professor Ron Christian Season. I'm representing the Harm Reduction Alliance of the Philippines. We're a group of academicians and scientists who are doing and advocating public health policies on harm reduction. So we have already submitted our position paper on both FDA and DOH. And just on the registration, we have submitted our position paper on this to your office, Your Honor. And we believe that global health warnings are important, but that is vital and should be differentiated from the GHW seen in our ordinary cigarettes. And this is because these products does not have combustion and which may attribute to many of the non-communicable diseases related to combustible. So that is our stand as the Harm Reduction Alliance of the Philippines.
Okay, thank you, Professor Season. Okay, so we move on to the next issue. We move on to Section 5.
Mr. Chair, sorry, just
Uh,
before
yes.
you leave, just to clarify, no, I think it was Dr. Yule who mentioned it that, and I did not mention it in my opening statement, so that's why I'm adding it now. That the reference to the graphic health warning law was already made in our syntax law. So I just emphasize this because these were legislative decisions that were already made. And these were made barely a year ago. So I just like to put that on record because if we will change anything, we will change a law that was just passed a year ago. There has to be a substantial reason for that because this is already the legislative mandate. So I just point it out because I don't want us to forget what we actually already passed upon in the recently legislated syntax law. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Pia. So we move on, Section 5, tamper-resistant and child-resistant design. I suppose not much discussion here, no? Okay, so we move on to Section 6, minimum age sales and purchase. Yes.
Apologies. May I speak po? This is Tony Flores from CRN.
Okay, yeah, please proceed. Yeah, you wanted to make a comment on Section 4 or Section 5?
On the health warnings po, in line with the discussion.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you very much po. I would just like to manifest at this point, no, I have submitted also our position paper to the committee, and one of our our recommendation is that these products should not be considered harm reduction strategies as proposed in SBN 951. So we recommend that this might be put as consideration, no, in deciding whether or not to differentiate the health warnings. There are no conclusive studies to prove their effectiveness in reducing harm, in this case from cigarette use. And in fact, studies have shown that it is more likely that users of these products would either use both e-cigarettes and traditional cigarettes or switch from e-cigarettes to traditional cigarette use, like what happened to the first case of e-Bali with a 16-year-old girl. So yes, I would just like to manifest that to be put in consideration for that provision. Thank you very much po.
Yes, so thank you for that. So now we proceed to Section 6, minimum age sales and purchase. No, in the three bills for consideration, it talks about 18 years old. Now in the Senate bill and the current syntax law, it is at 21. May I solicit your comments and suggestions? Maybe one question. To buy alcohol, what age is the requirement? 18? Isn't it 18?
18.
18, di ba? To buy alcohol.
Yep.
Parang wala pa ho yata.
18 po, 18.
What about tobacco? 18.
18.
18 years old for alcohol. Yeah.
18 for alcohol, 18 for tobacco. Okay? And in the current law, the syntax law, when we debated this last year, the age was at 21, if I'm not mistaken. Should we differentiate the age of alcohol, tobacco, and e-cigarettes? Or should they all be the same at 18?
Your Honor,
Yes. So.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Yes, our current law, RA 11467, already mandates that the minimum age of purchase for electronic cigarettes and for heated tobacco products is at 21 years of age. Now, scientific studies have shown that the age of maturation actually occurs at the age of 25 years. Now, if we are thinking of changing the minimum age of purchase, maybe what we should do is even increase it to 25 years. Now, to be consistent, since all of these are all addictive substances, maybe it is wise to consider that we put the minimum age of purchase for all the vaporized products, heated tobacco products, all the regular tobacco products, and even alcohol at the age of 21, or even perhaps at age 25, so that we will be able to prevent our young from taking up this addiction at an earlier age, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, so your position is to increase the age to 25, but hopefully for tobacco, alcohol, and e-cigarettes.
Also 20, all, in
Okay.
all, sir. In
Correct,
all.
correct. That's what I
Yes.
said, right? Okay. Any other comments from the group, from our resource persons?
Dr. Gonzalez has been raising her hand.
Okay, please.
Dr.
Good
Gonzalez.
morning. Good
Yes.
morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Riz Gonzalez from the Philippine Pediatric Society. The concept of maturation of the brain has been there for the past 10 years. So that's why the Tobacco Control Act, the marriage eligibility at 18, and even access to alcohol has long been set to 18 years old. Now we have seen that so many of our adolescents are put into jeopardy, not only in the access of tobacco, but also in vehicular accidents, teenage pregnancy, because that age still is at the risk-taking behavior. It is the maximum age wherein they experiment and try out things. Now, vape has been in the market for 18 years, and we should learn our lessons from the history of what happened in the United States, that many of those who have been affected are actually in this age group. That's why they have this tobacco control, the Tobacco Act of 21, regulating and have really been passed in several majority of their states. The access of vape should be at 21 years old. We in the PPS believes in this contention that the prefrontal cortex, which is actually where the dopamine reward center is and the target of nicotine, matures last by the age of 25. Exposure to nicotine regularly negatively affects the development of this particular part of the brain, which is important for the executive function. That is mainly mood and impulse control, attention, and learning, which impacts decision making. This biologic principle, coupled with the social and psychological principles, work to renormalize smoking as indicated by numerous scientific studies. Lowering the age of access to e-cigarettes from 21 to 18 years old, we find is a retrospective act. We have a very good law, that's RA 11467, and we laud Senator Pia then. Because if we don't start in one product, which is really creating a lot of problems, especially in the United States, we will never solve this problem of these accidents, these unhealthy habits of our adolescents. So we oppose this retrogressive act of bringing in the 18 years old. And we should review also our laws on tobacco, wherein our children, what is the age of initiation of tobacco? It is less than 18. When we did our nationwide survey last year, February, March 2020, among all regions in public schools, grades 7 to 9, we have seen that about 20% of our youth are using electronic cigarettes. That is so unfortunate. And we all know that smoking and vaping initiation before the age of 18 makes the brain harder to quit because of the rewiring and the constant wiring of this nicotine is doing in the prefrontal cortex. So we uphold that the age of access should be at 21 years old. Thank you.
Thank you. Joey, yes, proceed. Yeah.
Thank you, Senator Recto. Just for the matter of consistency in our laws, we could apply for a driver's license. We could vote at 18. We can buy cigarettes at 18, buy alcohol at 18. When the 21 and restriction was passed, we were hoping that this law would be revisited, and I think this is a perfect time for us to maybe correct or put it back to what is consistent with our laws on these kind of products. That's all, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Joey. Yes, Senator Pia.
just a very quick reply, not to Mr. Dulay. With all due respect, sir, driving, applying for being able to vote, those are not harmful actions. So they may have like driving may have some risk, but they are not in itself harmful actions. To be able to use an e-cig is a harmful, it's a privilege that should only be allowed the adults, or not just adults, but young people who have mature brains already, because it is addictive. So that's this distinction that we're making. So I just have to comment on that, because I don't think it should be aligned with those other activities the resource person is mentioning. Perhaps if the resource person referred to other activities, like his honor referred to alcohol and cigarettes, then obviously that is a discussion that we need to have. In fact, I am prepared to file a bill increasing the age of access to those other sinful products to older age as well, whether it's 21, 23, or 25. I'm still deciding on that. That is what we should do, and not the lowering. That's my position, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pia. Okay, you have Peter. Peter, you wanted to speak?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, at Vapors PH,
Oh, is it,
suggest that
we could be gender sensitive here, huh? So let's have a male, let's have a female, let's have a male, let's have a female after. Peter, please.
yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to manifest that we support what Mr. Joey is saying, Sir Joey Dulay, for consistency of our laws, and also other countries like the United Kingdom. They've still maintained the 18 years of age with respect to the sale and the consumption of vaping products or ends. Finally, I agree that we should help and protect the youth sector with respect to the consumption of this product. But I'd like to manifest that we have to look at what we're trying to do here as a whole, because if we put the restrictions already in place, putting it all together, and the registration, the jurisdiction, all of that, the 18 years of, I think we already have enough processes in place to protect the youth, not just straight up 18, 25, 21.
Thank you, Peter. Gina, you wanted to speak?
Yeah.
President, sorry, just to interject. No, later on, can we ask the last resource persons to give us a list of what are those interventions that he mentioned that we have in place to protect the youth? Because I don't believe that we do. But if that is his position, I respect it. Let's ask him to submit, please.
So directed, Peter, you may submit to the committee. Please proceed.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Chair. May I be allowed to talk? I'm Dr. Gina Canonizado.
Yes, please proceed.
I am from the Philippine Academy of Pediatric Pulmonologists, and we also believe that the age limit should be maintained at 21 if we cannot go to 25 because of the reasons already given by Dr. Gonzalez. Now, if ever we have some laws limiting the age to 18, but perhaps at this time it is but proper for us to do what's more right and what's better for our youth. Since at 18, these are just adolescents, and the deciding factor that they have will be mainly on a brain that's not yet that's fully mature. So I guess because if you allow these things to happen at an early age, this will be a gateway to other addiction and more problems, not only with their health, but also socially, psychologically, and mentally. So I think I really 100% go to the age limit of 21 if we cannot go up to 25, which would be better. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Gina. Lorenzo Mata, you were raising your hand.
Sir, if I may lang po, sir, si Senator Go gusto na po magsalita. Hindi na siya maka-raise na.
Okay, sorry. Before we recognize Mr. Mata and the others and the NCUP representative, the chair would like to call Senator Go for a statement.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please proceed, Chairman of the Committee on Health.
Mr. Chair, we support the position of our health experts on this issue, and in this regard, may I deliver a short manifestation as Chair of the Committee on Health. First of all, as Chairman of the Committee on Health, let me emphasize that as much as this is an issue involving commercial regulation, this is also a health issue. That is why I thank our chairman of this subcommittee, no less than Senate President pro tempore Ralph Pareto, for inviting health advocates and tobacco control groups to this hearing. Importante po marinig natin ang kanilang panig at mabalanse ang regulasyon at proteksyon ng ating kalusugan. We need enforcement of regulations against products that may contain or emit potentially toxic substances or highly addictive substances which are harmful to our health. As policymakers, we must strike a balance between regulating products that may be alternative to or less risky than traditional tobacco products, and protecting public health, especially with the objective of preventing addiction among our youth. As Chair of the Health Committee, unahin ko po ang kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino, ang kalusugan nila. Kung ang usapin ay sa pagitan ng negosyante o kalusugan ng Pilipino, pipiliin ko po ang kalusugan ng Pilipino. Even President Rodrigo Duterte has taken a public health stance on this issue. Last year, the President issued Executive Order number 106, which prohibits the manufacture, distribution, marketing, and sale of unregistered or adulterated electronic cigarettes, heated tobacco products, or HTP, and other novel tobacco products. Under EO 106, access to electronic cigarettes and HTP has been restricted to persons over 21 years of age. The use of e-cigarettes and HTP has also been included in the nationwide smoking ban. Kahit noong wala pang e-cigarette, inuuna po talaga ni then Davao City Mayor Rudy Duterte ang kalusugan ng kanyang constituents. Kaya noon pa mayroon ng mahigpit na anti-smoking ordinance sa Davao City. Congress has also taken a position on the matter when we passed the sin tax law for e-cigarettes, which was sponsored by our fellow health advocate, Senator Pia Cayetano. Maganda na mayroong mas mahigit, mas maganda po na mayroong mas mahigpit na regulasyon ang ating otoridad na may kaugnayan sa lahat ng uri ng e-cigarettes. Suportado ko po ito ang mga polisiya na naglalayong mas maprotektahan ang kalusugan ng ating mamamayan sa pamamagitan ng mas mahigpit na regulasyon. We should not allow the unregulated use of these products and how it is easily accessed by minors. I also echo the advice of health officials and experts for the public to refrain from using vapes and e-cigarettes as the knowledge on the products is still limited. Ang paggamit ng e-cigarette ay masama pa rin sa kalusugan, lalo na kapag minor na edad ang gumagamit. Nakakabahala rin po na laganap ito sa kabataan. According to the 2018 National Enhanced Nutrition Survey, 19% of regular e-cigarette users are youth age 10 to 19 years old. This is way above the regular cigarette users among the youth, which is at 6%. Nararapat lang po na pag-aralan po natin ito ng mabuti. Kaya po, on the Committee on Health and its members will be involved and actively participate in the discussions on the matter. I am also sure that our good chair, Senator Recto, will consider all factors for us to be able to come up with meaningful legislation. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Go. Thank you for your inputs. This juncture, I'd like to recognize Mr. Mata, thereafter Mr. Israel, then Tonggeto, and Mr. Flores. Of course, if there are women who may want to speak, we'll have it male, female, male, female. Okay, please proceed. Mr. Mata, please proceed. We can't hear you, Mr. Mata. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
I've unmuted myself already. Thank you. Hello? Am I clear?
Yeah, please proceed.
Okay. Again, as a smoking cessation advocate, I think by being stringent with the less viable, less harmful alternative product, will send the wrong will send the wrong signal again to smokers that HTPs and EVPs are more harmful than combustible tobaccos. Our concern is really the smoking related diseases causing 8 million deaths per year worldwide. If we are only able to switch our 1.3 billion smokers this less harmful alternative we can considerably lessen deaths every year. We just have to strike a balance between its impact on cessation and its impact on initiation, which is exactly what your committee is doing now, giving the regulation necessary to prevent the youth uptake of these products. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mata. Mr. Israel?
Yes, nais ko lang pong
Mr.
bigyan
Chair,
ng
you mentioned that if there's a woman, it will be alternate. So since there's no resource woman, I'll be the woman who'll speak. May I proceed?
Yes, please proceed. Yeah.
Thank you. Very quick reaction lang, Mr. Chair. The resource person is trying to make a distinction between a harmful product and a less harmful product. So if the position of this resource person or the other groups that are representing e-cigs and vapes is that it is less harmful or it should be used as a cessation product, then let's remember that there is a different course to take if it is going to be registered as a cessation product. Then they should register as a cessation product and then they can say everything they want to say. So that is a very clear distinction that must be made every time. If I may just request His Honor, every time somebody claims that it is less harmful, it is a cessation product, then let's be directed to that right course of action because you can make those claims if you are properly identified by the FDA as a cessation product. Wala namang problema doon. But you cannot just make those claims based on the claims of your company. So let's be clear about that, Mr. Chair. And I have one more thing to add, but I'll do it later because I don't want to really interfere with your flow, no? But I just wanted to react to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bia. Mr. Israel?
Yes, Mr. Chair, nais ko lamang po bigyan ng reaksyon. Tayo ay nasa dilema ng choosing between which one is of lesser evil. Hindi rin man natin yung maipapatunayan pa na ang vaping is equally evil or equally destructive as smoking. Wala pa po tayong enough data on that. Now, tungkol po dun sa age restriction, isa po sa mga gusto nilang taasan yung edad ng 21 or to 25. That means yung mga vaping supplies and vaping gadgets ay affordable na rin po kung nagtatrabaho na sila. Whereas kung 18 years old, restricted pa rin and very inaccessible pa rin ang vaping materials dahil napakamahal po para mag-start ng vaping. So ang magiging entry point talaga nila is smoking. At least kung ang accessibility ay nasa mababa, makakapamili pa sila na pwede sila mag-vape kung kailangan nila ng nicotine. Of course, pagdating po sa approach ng aming grupo ng Nicotine Consumers Union, hindi po namin tinitignan ang pagbe-vape as a smoking cessation but as a tool for nicotine consumption continuation. Yun lamang po.
Thank you. We had recognized also the other person. Okay, Mr. Flores. We'll have Mr. Flores, then Mr. Cabrera.
Sir, Mr. Donguero.
Mr. Castelo after, and Mr. Dance. Yes, please proceed.
Sir, as you say, alternating men, women, so if I may also be recognized.
Yes, please proceed. Yeah. This is Miss Flores, right?
Opo, I'm a woman po, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Correct. Yes.
All right. I would just like to say that on behalf of the Child Rights Network, we urge the committee to put children at the forefront in the deliberations of this law. And so we would like to, our goal for be to prevent children's exposure to toxic substances as much as we can. And so we recommend further raising the restriction for buying and using these products to 25 years old as part of the brain responsible for executive function, as already mentioned by Dr. Gonzalez. Continues to develop until the age of 25. And exposing children and youth's brain to toxic substances before this age might impair their cognition and impede brain's full development. The nicotine content of cigarettes is highly addictive. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Then we have Ms. Cabrera.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm Dr. Aglina Ong Cabrera
Yes, please proceed.
from Philippine College of Chest Physicians. So rather than just giving a statement, I would like to leave a question because picking up from the discussion on smoking cessation, we are talking about the youth, 18 years old. So why would we even consider smoking cessation for these people who are supposedly not yet smokers? So in that aspect, why are we considering smoking cessation when we should stop them from actually using nicotine? And why are we even promoting nicotine for these kids or 18 and above, or at least 21 and below? So that is my statement, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your statement. Mr. Dance?
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Dance, proceed.
Yes, I would just like to point out that the issues on labeling and age limits has been confused by this concept of harm reduction. Kasi if there is harm reduction, then a lower age is acceptable and kinder warnings. But if there is no harm reduction, then we need to be stricter. So I'd like to distinguish what we're discussing here, because I was asked to review the literature on this. And since my last presentation in 2019, October, at the Committee on Health, since then, there have been 882 new studies on e-cigarettes and heated tobacco products. And these studies show that potential harm reduction is only a possibility for prescribed use for known smokers. Iba po yung prescribed use sa general market availability in malls, supermarkets. Here, when you're talking about general availability, there is absolutely no proof of harm reduction. So para kung halimbawa, just to give an extreme example, talk about morphine. Morphine has benefit, right? But it's for prescribed use. We don't make it widely available in markets exactly because it induces addiction. So the harms of casual availability of ends in malls and markets actually has no harm reduction. In fact, there are 3 proven harms that I've seen in the literature, which I can show you if the numbers, if necessary. Casual use or casual availability increases the risk of alcohol binges around 4-fold. It increases the use of tobacco 6-fold or 500% more, and increases the use of marijuana 4-fold. So there are several studies on tens of thousands of patients showing these 3 effects on casual availability of these products. So I think we need to make a distinction because we are not talking about prescribed use here. We are talking about open market availability. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Dr. Lance. I'd like to recognize also our majority leader, one of the authors of the measures we're considering, Senator Migsubiri. Welcome. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning to all the interest groups, to our colleagues in the Senate, to all the health advocates. Good morning po. I'm just here to support our chairperson, and listening. I'm just listening into all the discussions.
Thank you.
Very informative. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I'd like to recognize now DTI USEC Ruth Castello.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning again, everyone. Mr. Chair, the DTI would probably leave it to medical, scientific, practical positions on the age requirement, but we would like to invite attention, Mr. Chair, to the existing laws. We have Republic Act 6809 lowering the age of majority from 21 to 18. We also have Republic Act 9211, Mr. Chair, limiting the age of legal smoking to 18. So perhaps we can take a look at these laws so that we can align the provisions of this bill, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to recognize also
Mr. Chair, I just want to point out to USEC, Ruth, you're USEC ba? ASEC?
USEC, Madam.
USEC Ruth, yes. I just want to point out that the syntax is also a law that pegged it at 21. I'm just surprised that you didn't mention that. That is the law that protects the youth, and it's pegged at 21. So you should also include that in your enumeration. Otherwise, it's almost like you're batting for a lower age group. Just for clarity, no? I'd like to believe that you're not, but so I'm just pointing that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dongueto, Romeo.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. Yes.
Yes, the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development's position is that these products, the Ns and BNPs, are harmful and addictive. And so our position is for the ban on selling of these products to young people and raise the age of restriction for buying and using these products to 25 years old. And we are very supportive of the position of Senator Pia Cayetano and Senator Bongo. That's
Thank
all.
you. Yeah, thank you very much. I think we've had a lot of discussion on this issue already, no, as far as age is concerned. No? So let me move on to Section 7, Proof of Age Verification. So I suppose there is no opposition here, right? Whether it's 18 or 21. Okay, so let me move on to online trade, Section 8. Okay, should we allow online trade or should we ban it? Could we hear from our resource persons? Anyone? Can you buy now tobacco products online, alcohol online, heated tobacco products online, and vape online?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And is there a way of regulating it online? Because my bill seeks to regulate it online. I know it's difficult, but is there a way to do it? This is one of the main points of discussion. As I enumerated. Yes. And yeah, Senator Amy Marcos.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think the usual system is self-declaration, which is obviously defective, and other age verification efforts. But in reality, the best would be the in-person identification upon delivery. Upon delivery and the provision of an adequate government ID with a photo, with the date of birth, and so on. So yun talaga yung online verification kasi yung self-declaration, as we well know, has its deficiencies. But as you rightly pointed po, everything's available online.
It's a very good point, no? Upon delivery. Okay, that you have to prove your age upon delivery. So it's not so much online. We could have a regulation online, but then the final will be once it's delivered to your home. May proof of verification, no? If that would be possible, no? Okay. Any other suggestions?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I think most of our Our online transactions are cash on delivery in any case. Upon payment, they can provide the ID that will indicate age.
That's right. That's right. A good point. Thank you. Any other comments on this issue?
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Who is this? Could you state your name?
Dr. Doroteo po.
Please proceed. Yes.
While we believe that in-person verification is possible, we know from our own online purchasing experiences, even not for vaping, but for other products, the delivery person often doesn't check ID, doesn't even check if the person who is supposed to receive the item is there. No? I get messages, for example, saying that I need to present a particular code or identify myself when I make an online purchase. But the person receiving it from my household doesn't present any information at all. Just says, yes, that person lives here and is able to receive the package. So even though the law might specify that, the enforcement is very, very weak. I don't know how it can be done, even with in-person. And this actually relates to the young people. They can order in the name of their parents, for example, bypassing whatever online verification is available, and still be able to get these products to themselves.
Yeah, but even if you ban online, it will still continue, isn't it?
But if it is banned, Your Honor, then there is a legal remedy for the authorities to clamp down, because the authorities can also see what is online and not just have to go house to house to verify if the person buying is actually of legal age.
Yeah, but I think that will also be difficult. But nevertheless, any other comments? I think DTI, USEC, Ruth Castello, and then Attorney Reggie, and the FDA Director Anna wanted to speak. Okay, so USEC, Ruth Castello.
Oh, yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, there are three and
USEC Castello, you're coming in. Your signal is not too good.
So perhaps the chair can also get into mandating online sellers to make sure that they are
Yeah, let me cut you first,
numbers.
because you're not coming in clear. Maybe Attorney Reggie first.
That they post their
Attorney, yes, Attorney
Thank
Reggie.
you, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just 2 points. One is we believe
Chair.
that
Please continue, Attorney Reggie. We'll get back to you, Attorney Ruth. Yes.
Mr.
USEC.
Chair.
we believe that if there's a provision prohibiting online selling, then that in itself could be a limiting factor to vendors that sell online because of the penalty, and proper monitoring can curb this. Second is, if we decide that online selling is may be done, then there's a related issue of point of sales notifications, because there is a provision in the proposed bill that certain mandatory notifications should be posted on point of sales, like this product, etc. So this should also apply to any online vendor because it is a point of sale.
That's correct.
So
Thank you.
points.
Thank you, Attorney Reggie. And you have Director Anna of the FDA.
Thank you, sir, for accommodating us. The problem is that the access of the youth to online selling, and we also had issues before that we monitored that some of these products contain illegal substances, and those coming from other countries would not be following the restrictions provided for under the law. So we support the proposal of Senator Pia to have this online selling banned or prohibited, so that we would have some regulatory oversight in terms of having these products being made accessible to everybody. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Director Anna. Any other comments here, or do we move on?
Yeah. Just a question.
Yes,
Your Honor.
Minority Leader Frank Milon is recognized. Yes.
May I know how we will implement banning this online? Is there technology?
Any resource person, DTI, USEC? You're raising your hand.
Mr. Chair? Yes, Mr. Chair, as I was saying earlier, the department is going to issue technical regulations on this because we need to make sure that our Philippine national standards are complied with. So perhaps, Mr. Chair, if we allow online selling of these devices and the materials used for this, the sellers or importers should be able to post the license number on the page where the device is sold, so that consumers can verify, Mr. Chair, if these products are indeed certified and has passed the test done by the DTI. Otherwise, Mr. Chair, perhaps... yes, Mr. Chair.
My question is there technology that can ban online selling? Regulation, yes. I mean, banning? Just a question, a technical question.
For gambling, I know they can. If you're below 18 years old, gambling, there is a way of doing it. Now, with regard to these products, I'm not too sure. But the technology should be the same. Okay. Okay, yes, Mario? Mario, you want to? Yes, proceed, yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I think I just want to share the experience being done by Jewel. By the way, I'm Mario Zinampan, and I'm the consultant for Better for You Corporation, which is the local distributor of Jewel products in the Philippines. So let me just share what Jewel is actually doing in order to curb underage use access of our products online. So what we're doing is we adhere to very strict two-age verification process in order to prevent the underage from buying our products. So to demonstrate, the first step is for that buyer to submit an ID, upload an ID online, and afterwards, it is required that that person also takes a selfie and again upload. So we have a technology similar to what financial institutions are doing to be able to check that the buyer is indeed of age. So I just want to share that self-regulation that we are doing despite the absence of regulation at the moment with respect to online sales. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you for that, for the information. Any other
Mr.
comments? Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Arnie Carino from Philip Morris.
Yes, Arnie, please.
Okay, on this particular point, Mr. Chair, let me just state that we support the regulation of online selling, but not prohibition. I guess what's important to take note here really is the balancing, of course, of the balancing of interest, which is on the one hand, we want to be able to give adult smokers who would otherwise continue smoking that platform to access their products, especially now when movement is limited. We don't want them at the end of the day to go back to smoking for those of them who've already switched. So that's one end that we need to look at. On the other hand, we also need to regulate online selling to ensure that these products do not get into the hands of minors. So I think that's crucial. And from our end, we do exercise. We're very strict. We have strict protocols when it comes to the hard age verification of our products upon delivery to the one who ordered it. If I don't know if some of you may have purchased our products online, the delivery guy didn't deliver it to that person if there's no government ID that is shown. So I guess this is just again where we're coming from. We support online regulation that balances the interest of adult smokers who would otherwise continue smoking, at the same time ensuring these the minors don't get hold of these products. Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other final comment on this issue before we move on to the next issue?
Mr. Chair,
Who is this?
Attorney Hularwan of ASU.
Yes, attorney, please proceed.
Just an added input related to the question of Senator Drilon. There are two types of online selling actually pervasive in the Philippines. One is through registered vendors such as Shopee, Lazada, etc. And it's easy to, if we prohibit selling online, it's easy to regulate them because they cannot do their business if they continue to sell prohibited products. But there is the underground economy, that's the use of social media such as Facebook, etc. We must bear in mind also that these social media pages have algorithms and procedures that you can ask the Facebook, for example, to close down a page if it continues to perform illegal acts such as selling illegal items. So there is a remedy, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other? So we move on to the next. Section 9, sales within school perimeters. There is a suggestion here, 100 meters or 200 meters. Okay, we move on. Section 10, point of sale, signage. So I guess we all agree on this. Product communication restriction, section 11. Any comments on this? Mr. Mata, yes? Mr. Mata, you wanted to say something on section 11? So I guess not.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I'll give way to Senator Pia, Mr.
Thank you.
Yes, you wanted to say something? Go, please proceed. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just want to put on record that I'll be filing a bill that restricts the point of purchase display of all harmful sin products. It may or may not be taken up now, but I just felt like it's better for me to already mention it now because it may eventually affect this provision. This is done in countries, and I'd like to point out that during my visit to London, and no less than that, we had resource persons from the University College London, UK, which actually World Economic Forum just ranked as the #1 university in the world recently. But our resource persons from that university pointed out that their treatment of alternative smoking products and devices is very different than other countries because they do not have a strong uptake among the youth anymore. And despite that, so even though they are allowing and they still have restrictions on the sale of their e-cigarettes and vapes. However, whatever they're doing there, in a way, can be viewed as more lenient already. What I'm trying to say is we cannot even be any more lenient than them because they already are no longer. They have concluded that their youth is not at risk in the way that the world's youth is at risk because the youth do not find smoking cool anymore. We have not reached that point. That's what I'm trying to say. We have not reached that point where our youth think that, ay, pang matanda lang yung sigarilyo, ay, it's not cool to smoke. Our youth still think it's cool to smoke. And therefore, if we are liberal with our sales of the alternatives, then we will be harming the youth into waste. They will continue to be purchasing cigarettes, and then they will also now be interested in this alternative product. So I just want us to be very mindful of that. And I mention it now because one solution would be no point of purchase display of products. So that is one of the recommendation I will be putting forward. I do recognize that other products are not held to this standard, and that's why my bill does not have that. But that's also why I'm saying that I intend to file another bill that will also cover regular cigarettes on this, because this is what is being done in progressive countries that have been effective in stopping the growth of the uptake of smoking among the youth. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you for that. Before, and I'd just like to ask a question. No? Those selling tobacco products or alcohol products, do they have a sign outside that says the sale or distribution of their products could not be sold to those 18 years of age or below? Meron ba silang ganon? Those selling tobacco products and alcohol products today?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I believe this is covered under.
I was trying to raise a hand for the comment on the previous.
Yes.
I'll give you.
Yeah.
Before that, our
on the previous topic, Your Honor, but I can comment on this one also.
Okay, please proceed.
Hello.
Yes.
Can I comment on this
Yes,
one?
please proceed. Yes. Can you hear me? Please proceed. Okay, if you can't, then my question is today, tobacco products, there is a point of sale signage, no? You can sell tobacco, alcohol products, no? Right? Okay, but is there a sign that says that you cannot sell it to minors? Because our bill covers that too.
Your Honor, may I offer an answer?
Yes, Attorney Reggie, please proceed.
Because I recall when we were working on the tobacco law, the point of sales requirement is there, that there is a signage that should show that it is prohibited to be sold to minors.
Yes.
Persons below. So it's a requirement, point of sales notice.
Okay, so it's a requirement today for alcohol and tobacco products.
Yes, Your Honor, on point of sales.
Yeah, on point of sale. So here we're just trying to align it with that, no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, in as much as I'm here, can I
Mr. Chair, can I ask Attorney Reggie to speak louder or go closer? Kasi siya lang yung medyo mahina eh. Yung iba malakas naman. Thank you.
Yes, please, Attorney Reggie.
Your Honor, can I be heard now?
Yes, please proceed.
Can I be heard now, Your Honor?
Yes, we can hear you, Reggie.
Okay, Your Honor, just an added comment on the use of the phrase scientifically substantiated in the provision. May I offer that it should be more specific, because this has been used loosely. For example, clinical studies is being used in terms of some formulations, but the clinical studies or clinical trials does not conform to what it should be. For example, clinical studies should mean that it is peer-reviewed and published in the proper medical journals. So I would defer to the health experts, but the term scientifically substantiated should be more defined and specific, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on this section?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I was going to come, Arnie Carino from Philip Morris.
Well, we will recognize Arnie.
If I may be allowed.
Yes, Arnie, we will recognize you, but after you it will be Dr. Anna of the FDA and Dr. Gonzalez. Please proceed.
Yes, I was going to make a comment earlier on product communications. I just wanted to say that, point of sale and other forms of consumer communication are very important. For without it, smokers will never find out that these alternatives exist. It's really a hallmark of consumer protection, the right to know. So I think having said this, we support those bills that allow for product communications at point of sale, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Anna of the FDA.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing us to comment on product communication. For the FDA, it is clear in the regulations in RA 9711 that if there are any claims, the company needs to substantiate these claims, and they should have the scientific evidence to back up their claims for their products. This is to ensure that the consumers are not misled into believing that these products can reduce the harm, and this should be based on available evidence. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Dr. Gonzalez.
Good morning. Thank you again, Senator. For a pediatrician, we have been monitoring the sale of electronic cigarettes way back in 2017 and even before pre-pandemic. Children are very visual, and we can see all of these products in the youth access area. To say there are electronic cigarette stores in front of Jollibee, in front of near supermarket entrance, in front of what's this, hardware, the popular hardware, and even in front of the bookstores. So even if the children cannot read that, but the fact that this point of sale is near the access of these youth, it attracts them, and you see how visual these children are. So aside from the point of sales, even the location should be studied so that we can protect our children. And we are sending also signals that smoking and vaping is just normal when you reach that point of maturity. However, what we look at it, they are still vices, and they should not be part of growing up of our children. Thank you po.
Thank you. Attorney Ben of Health Justice.
Your Honor, thank you very much for this chance to speak. For Health Justice, our position is that all forms of advertisements, promotion, and sponsorships of electronic cigarettes, including online and point-of-sale advertisements and signage, should be absolutely prohibited. This is consistent, Your Honor, with the e-cigarettes and HTB industry's position during the legislative hearing in Congress 2 years ago when we were discussing RA 11346 and RA 11467, that their products are actually just marketed only for smokers as cessation device. It should be the industry that should be burdened in terms of marketing their products, not the state, when we have youth that are going to be addicted with their product. Furthermore, Your Honor, direct and indirect sponsorships and promotions of e-cigarettes through what is known as vaping events should also be prohibited to halt the popularity of the use of these products, Your Honor. Kasi nakikita natin, they're very much present in youth events, and we want to also prevent that, Your Honor.
Yes. So in effect, we're discussing now section 11, 12, and 13. They're all interrelated. Okay, so Mr. Dongueto, PLCPD. Wanted to speak?
Yes, sir. Thank you again for this opportunity. Mr. Chair, the Food and Nutrition Research Institute in 2019 reported that 1 in 5 users of e-cigarettes in the country is below the age of 19. So the uptake, really, the uptake of young people to these products is very high, and there is clear and present danger on the health of children, on the health of our children and young people. So our position, we think that we should prohibit all forms of advertising, promotion, and sponsorship, including the ones, Mr. Chair, that are done online, in line with the efforts of making these products inaccessible to children and youth, and we should not allow any form of advertisement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, LCUP President, Anton Israel, yes.
Yes, at tungkol naman po dun sa mga events, point of sale advertising, Wala po kaming tutol doon. Dapat nga po magkaroon ng mga point of sale advertisements and information na nakakatulong dahil ang isang vape shop ay marami pong variety na ino-offer at hindi po alam ng mga vape goers kung alin doon ang mararapat para sa kanila. Particular kung ang dose ng kanilang use ay dapat angkop pa sa kanila or everything. Now, tungkol po dun sa enticement, dun sa youth, I don't think magiging issue ho yun. Dahil ang vape shop is already a gated facility. Hindi man papapasukin yung 18 kung yun ang sinasabi ng batas. Hindi rin papapasukin yung 21. Kung merong mga events, mga fairs, ang lahat ng pupunta ron ay expected mga vapers lang at walang mga bata. Yun lamang po ang akin.
Thank you. Mr. Tony Flores and Dr. Doroteo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. On behalf of the Child Rights Network, thank you again for allowing us to speak today. And on these provisions, would like to manifest that the idea of an e-cigarette should never even touch the consciousness of our children. Their right to survival and development should be our primary concern, and the use of e-cigarettes and next generation tobacco products is a public health concern. Thus, our position is a comprehensive ban on advertising, promotion, and sponsorships, including those conducted online. In line with the efforts of making this product inaccessible to minors, we should also not allow any form of advertisement to reach our children. It has also been observed that advertising and promotion of these products are directly catered to the youth through their sleek and modern designs.
Yeah.
And we push for comprehensive ban. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but no one is suggesting that, no? None in the bill is suggesting that. Huh? Okay, so we're looking at section 11, 12, and 13, huh? Okay. Attorney Rafael? Yes, Attorney Rafael?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, magandang umaga po. Doon po sa proposed bill po ninyo compared to RA 9211, para mas magaang po yung internet advertising, sir, sa proposed bill po natin. Mas permissive po siya for internet advertising. As to RA 9211, internet advertising is prohibited. Yung po mga restricted sites, hindi po, doon lang po pwede makapag-advertise. Whereas, doon po sa proposed bill po, sir, as long as it is not targeted to people below 18, internet advertising is allowed. Yun lang po, we just would like to make that manifestation, Your Honor. Thank you po.
Thank you for that. Any other? Jul? Mario? From the Jul? Mario?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a very short manifestation. In accordance with our general position on risk proportionate regulations. So our general position is that rules on these alternative products should not be stricter than that provided for by combustible cigarettes, such that if point of sale advertisements are allowed, for instance, for combustible cigarettes, then we hope, given that these alternative products are new products which need a lot of information for adult smokers to be able to switch to these alternatives, then we hope that regulations should not be stricter when imposed to these alternative products. So that's our position, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I suppose we discussed. Yes. Who is this?
Dr. Doroteo po, you called me earlier.
Okay, please proceed.
So, Chair, I just wanted to react to the statements about youth access, no? Because even though there are restrictions in place, it's quite clear from the surveys that have been done that youth have access to these products in the same way that while we restrict tobacco products and alcohol products, youth still gain access to these products. But with that said, I actually want to point out that the industry has actually said that these products are not intended for non-smokers or for the youth. And therefore, what is the industry's way of proving that they are only selling to smokers? There has been no way to actually document this properly. When you go to a store, it's quite easy to say that I'm a smoker and not have any way to prove it before being sold these new products. And so it is quite easy for non-smokers and youth to have access. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. You also have Mr. Rodley Garza of the DOH.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. I would just like to put on record the position of the Department of Health that we propose any form of advertising, sponsorship, and promotional activities to be prohibited, Mr. Chair. Thank you, pa.
Okay, thank you. So we move on. I think we've had a lot of
Mr. Chair, I think Dr. Maricar Limpin would like to be recognized, and then I'd like to also say something after.
Okay, please proceed.
Yes, thank you. In behalf of the Philippine College of Physicians, we would like to officially support a prohibition of any form of advertisement, promotion, sponsorships, or any marketing strategies, including internet or online selling. We have seen now the increasing use of e-cigarettes among the young, wherein the recent FNRI study have shown that 19% of our children aged 10 to 19 years of age are now using e-cigarettes. That means if you look at the proportion of e-cigarette smokers in the young, it is 3 times higher even, no, compared to those who are using standard cigarettes. These young people are now starting to really go into e-cigarettes, and as early as now, we need to put a stop to this pandemic. And we know that marketing, advertising, and promotions are one very effective means of reaching out to this young. The industry have said that are not targeting the young, and yet we see many of their activities, marketing activities, directed towards the young. So we do not want any form of advertisement, Your Honor, and I hope that we will consider this for the sake of our children.
Thank you, Senator Pia. You're now.
Yes, Mr. Chair. It's an echo. Someone's. Okay. I want to point out. Can you hear me? Because there's an echo. It might interfere with your understanding my. Okay. I just wanted to share also. Again, when I visited the UK, I wanted to do my own ocular inspection. No, so I was with my staff. We were there for a few days, and we kept forgetting. We were already in the airport, and we realized that we were never able to purchase or to even look at an e-cigarette product in the convenience stores. I'll tell you why. It's not that we did not enter a convenience store. We did. Siguro mga twice a day, you'd buy bottled water, whatever. We entered the convenience store a number of times each day. However, bawal ang point of purchase display. You cannot sell e-cigarettes there. So every time we entered, we did not think of, we were not reminded, our senses were not bombarded with images of the products. And that is why I personally am such a strong supporter of no point of purchase display of products, because I experienced it myself. I had it on my to-do list. I was supposed to at least look at or maybe try to purchase a product, but I kept on forgetting because I could not see it. So that is why I feel so strongly about no point of purchase display. The second point I want to make is on advertisements, or sponsorships. My bill calls for a total ban. And the reason for this is you cannot differentiate between a 19-year-old who's endorsing it versus an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old or a 25-year-old. Come on. We all know that it is aspirational for the youth to look up to those older than them. Unlike, like I said, in the UK, where they have already cut the tie, they have made smoking undesirable for the youth, or so they claim, because they do not see any uptake at all. Okay? So unless we're at that point, the ban should stay permanently. So I was a little bit surprised when one of the resource persons from NCUP mentioned that the events, he mentioned vaping events. And I was like, what is the vaping event? Can we ask him to elaborate? Because what is the objective here? To promote vaping? Why would there be a vaping event? Again, if it is meant to be a cessation tool, by all means, go for it. Do what you have to do, but register, as FDA has already mentioned. Now, if this is a vaping event na merong kumakanta, na merong concert, what is the point?
I would like to get clarified on that. No? Yung mga vaping events, yan po ay mga ino-organize ng mga vaping community to welcome only vapers or ex-smokers to get oriented dun sa mga products na sino-showcase nila. Ito po ay mga vaping events na ito ay gated events. Hindi po nila pinapapasok yung mga young looking o yung mga minor de edad na wala po sa saktong edad. So ito po ay targeted events na para lamang po doon sa mga vapers. So yun po ang aking guys kung i-emphasize. Maging ang mga vape shops meron na po silang sense of responsibility na sinusunod. Ay mga nasa counter, kilala ho nila yung mga customer nila. Kung nakakita ho sila ng bata, hindi ho nila binibigyan. Maliban sa ibang mga sitwasyon, natuto naman na meron din nagbebenta doon sa mga minor de edad. Hindi rin po maiiwasan yun.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll leave it at that for now. No, I won't take it up now. But I think this kind of events have to be extremely regulated, because the reality there is they welcome new vapors, people who have never smoked before. And I've already seen it on social media na may pa-post pa tagging a friend, welcome to the vaping world. What's that supposed to mean? Welcome to a world that will also kill you, but in a different way. And there's no scientific proof that it's safe. So I take very strong, I have very strong objections about this vaping community events. But again, they could take that up the right time. I just post my objections right now.
Yeah, thank you.
And we ask the Secretariat to note that, I guess for lack of time, the other resource persons were giving a thumbs up to my statement. Importante yan, kasi it's like putting on record that they support it. They support the statement that I was making. So iiwan nyo na lang yung thumbs up nyo para ma-record yan ng Secretariat natin. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Pia. Let's move on. The next section is use in public place. Let's take that together with designated vaping areas. Okay. Any comments on use in public place, Section 14, and designating vaping areas? Are there any comments? Most are in agreement here. Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. From Health Justice, Attorney Ben, we are in support of the proposal of the good Senator Pia Cayetano in terms of the regulation on the use of these products in public places, because there's a need to legislate regulation and where the products are being used, because the use of e-cigarettes should be absolutely banned in all public places. And this is also consistent with the statement of the President to ban the use of these products in public places, so as not to undermine the progress we already have in terms of our smoke-free campaign, Your Honor. And this is also in support with the statement of Senator Bongo a while ago that smoke-free places should include vape-free places, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other comments on this?
Yes, Arnie Carino.
Yes, Arnie, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Just background, in public place definition, smoking in public places has been sort of like, there's a lot of confusion. But if you look at the Tobacco Regulation Act for cigarettes, the definition of a public place is actually an enclosed area. And in that same law, there is an absolute prohibition in certain public places like hospitals, schools, food preparation areas, gasoline stations, stairwells. So there's an exclusive list. And we support that regulation. Our view here is that at the very least, the public place use restriction for heated tobacco products should be no more restrictive than that provided for cigarettes. Because again, the approach, the policy approach here should be to encourage adult smokers who would otherwise continue to smoke to switch to these products. Now, if we try to limit the places where they can use these products, and while at the same time, those for cigarette use are more lenient, then they might just defer back to using cigarettes, and that's one thing that we want to avoid. So that's my first point. My second point, Mr. Chair, is that we don't want to put smokers and those who have switched to heated tobacco products in one room. Because we know that these products are fundamentally different. One has combustion, the other one has absence of combustion. So I hope that the committee can make sure that there would be different or establishments will be allowed to put up separate designated smoking areas and designated vaping areas. And then my last point, Mr. Chair, here is really on private establishments. Our view here is that private establishment owners should be given leeway to establish their own designated vaping areas. And again, the approach here is really to nudge those adult smokers who would otherwise continue to smoke to switch to heated tobacco products or vaping products. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Ardy. Thank you. Any other?
Yeah.
On this issue?
Yes.
Minority Leader Frank Dilon. Yes, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a question. For the purposes of implementation, shouldn't we have only one rule? If you cannot smoke in this place, you cannot vape in this place. Di ba mas simple? Kaysa one rule for vaping, one rule for cigarette. If you cannot smoke here, you cannot vape here. You cannot have e-cigarettes here. You cannot have heated. So in other words, for purposes of implementation and easier enforcement, let's all have only one rule, whatever it is, applicable.
Yes. Well, frankly speaking, most of the regulations here are written that way.
Yeah.
If you were to read the bill, most of the regulations here are written that way, no? So in the case of vaping areas and smoking areas in a private establishment, the only suggestion is that they be two separate rooms, if at all.
Okay.
One for vaping and one for smoking. But there's no mandate. Walang pilitan. Okay. That's up to the private establishment. Any other concerns on this section? Yes, Dr. Lim.
Yes, I'd like to manifest, Your Honor, that we would like to we support the bill proposed by Senator Pia Cayetano, wherein vaping will not be allowed in any indoor areas, and that we have to be mindful of the research, scientific evidence that showed that the vape aerosol contains exactly almost the same chemicals that are also found in cigarette smoke. So, and these, among all these chemicals, this includes many that are known toxic and poisonous, as evidenced by the list of chemicals that have been found to be toxic and chemicals by the US FDA in 2012. And also, many of these chemicals, Your Honor, contain carcinogens. So, meaning these are cancer-causing agents, and therefore, what the industry would be saying that they are less harmful. Is no real evidence that will tell us that these e-cigarettes and these heated tobacco products are less harmful. the fact remains that all these products are still harmful and not safe, and therefore exposing our people to this vape aerosol smoke will not bring any good, no, to the health of the Filipino people.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other? Dr. Doroteo, Dr. Gonzalez, and yes. So the two?
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to support Dr. Limpin and other health advocates in really emphasizing that it's really when you allow the use of these products in indoor public places and workplaces and public transportation. Rather than providing for an exclusive list, the protection should be universal because we have a universal right to health. And therefore, the prohibition on the use of these products should be an inclusive provision rather than providing an exclusive list. And even though there is reference to RA 9211, we actually are of the position that RA 9211 needs to be amended so that there is also a wider restriction of smoking in public places. And therefore, that should not be an excuse for us to restrict the use of ENDS and HTPs and make them less restrictive than for cigarettes. There are many problems with RA 9211. That's not a good comparison for regulating ENDS and HTPs. And if we prohibit their use in public places, this protects the public, and this is already scientifically proven, particularly by indoor air experts, including engineers in the US. And like Senator Drilon said, it is also going to ease the enforcement of these restrictions when there is only one rule where you cannot vape or smoke in public places. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. FDA Director Ana Rivera, thereafter, Ms. Giselle of Philip Morris. FDA Director Ana Rivera. Rick Gonzalez, yes, please proceed.
Thank you, Senator. The goal of tobacco control has always been to quit, not shift. So we are sending signals here with the regulation that it's okay for smokers to shift, where in fact the hazards are still there. Now, it is also a known fact that e-cigarettes also has the second-hand aerosol and third-hand aerosol. They are hygroscopic and they stick to walls and any of those hygroscopic materials. And where do these kids usually take in their vaping? Inside the classroom, inside their homes. So this is actually sending wrong signal to our youth that the DVA is actually an alternative place for them to smoke. So if we really want to protect our children, having DVA sends a wrong signal. Diba may kasabihan po tayo na kung ano ang nakikita ng bata, yan ang tama. If we put that into actuation, having DVA, then we are just sending wrong signals to our children that this habit is actually good for them. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you. Director Ana Rivera.
Sir, with regards to DVA, may we manifest that there should be some restrictions, especially in this time of pandemic, and e-cigarettes, as has been previously mentioned, contains toxic aerosols, and this would contribute to the indoor air quality of the area. And at this time of the pandemic, we should consider that restrictions should be in place to ensure that not only the effects of the e-cigarettes, but also the infection coming or the possibility of infection or communicable diseases proliferating because of the e-cigarettes should also be diminished or reduced. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Giselle of Philip Morris. You're recognized.
I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarification. I'm first starting with Philip Morris in the Philippines is not planning to make any health claims, but I think it's important that the science and what we know about what is in the aerosol is also very clear, especially to this group here. So when we look at things, the aerosol, is there a secondhand aerosol being? The answer to that is yes. But when you compare it to a cigarette is burning and smoke is being emitted the entire time a cigarette is being used. When you heat a product, the aerosol being released only when you exhale. Because you're inhaling and then you're exhaling. So is there something in the air? Yes. But then you have to look at the comparison of what is being exhaled and what is the secondhand aerosol from an e-cigarette or a heated tobacco product, and how does that compare to a cigarette? So is there some chemicals in the air? The answer, definitely yes. But when you compare it to what's in the air from a cigarette, it's definitely reduced. There are plenty of studies on this done by independent groups as well as within the tobacco industry. These have been presented to many regulators around the world, including in the US to the FDA, but also to regulators in Europe, in Japan. And I think it's important that when you're setting policy, obviously where you can't smoke, you should not be allowed to use these types of products. But where smoking does occur, it's also important to differentiate the differences in the toxins being emitted, which ones are, which ones aren't, and the levels of them, because that's important for the smokers to be aware of when they're making the switch, and also to encourage them to make the switch.
Thank you, and thank you, Giselle. Peter Totor of Vapors Philippines. Peter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to manifest that the definition of a public place was already included in the AO that was published by the President. We just don't want to confuse the public, but also we support also what Ms. Giselle just said earlier, that there should be a distinction. So hopefully the establishments that we are looking at, where we will have the VNDS, the designated vaping places, will actually be separate from the public places designated for smokers, because we don't want to be exposed with the carcinogens from smokers.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's hear from Joey Dulay.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would just like to manifest our support for the Section 14 and 15 of the Recto Bill. It is also important for us vapers na hindi po kami maisama sa sa isang kwarto with smokers, kasi ang major decision nga namin is to switch away from smoking. We don't want to to go back to smoking by putting us inside the room with all the smoke and the harmful substances that smoking provides. No? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joey. Okay, so I suppose the next issue for discussion, no?
Chair.
Yes,
Chair.
please, proceed.
I just wanted to also comment on this provision, but also on the previous provision on advertising and sponsorship. I forgot to mention. It's very important, Mr. Chair, that we address what is a current strategy of the e-cigarette companies. I feel very strongly that there should be a ban in their promoting their products in medical communities. If they really are going to, if the intention is to share whatever benefit there is, then that should be a highly regulated discussion. The presence of DOH, FDA, or whatever other safeguards need to be present should be there, because again, as I said, unless it is registered as a cessation device, then they have no business promoting it as such. So I can tell you, I can share it. I'll put this on record. There is a Manila Times article that showed that these groups had an event with the Philippine College of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons, basically dentists. and their angle was preventing oral cancer. So whether that's true or not, that's not for me to decide. That's for the scientific community to decide, and they have no business promoting their product that way unless they have clearance that they can make those kind of statements. So, Mr. Chair, I use it as an example because this is extremely dangerous. We have experts here, Philippine Pediatric Society, Philippine College of Surgeons, but it is true, and you can ask the doctors. I'll ask them to speak whether now or later. Not every health professional knows these things. So these people have no business explaining something that they have no clearance about. They will be confusing even professionals. And again, I'd like to ask the Secretariat to take note of the thumbs up and whatever use of this is now a valid use of a valid expression of support, thumbs up and whatever clapping that is on record now in our video hearing. No. Second point, I move on. The second point is on the designated areas, and I'd also like to point out that one of the manner of enticing people to become vapors or HTP smokers is by creating these lounges, parang exclusive lounge, maybe similar to the what was explained kanina, like mga exclusive events, exclusive lounges for these users. So if the point is to help them support, why do you need an exclusive lounge? Clearly, the objective here is to make this a lifestyle. And again, it becomes aspirational for the youth na, wow, air condition, ang gaganda ng mga upuan, social na social. Tapos meron pang free coffee. Again, I saw this in London, in the United Kingdom. So yung aking provision on this, itong designated vaping areas, I specifically put there no chairs. Not that naman gusto kong pahirapan, but then again, let me add, sitting is the new smoking, okay? May kasabihan na ganon. So this is not meant to prejudice anyone. Obviously, if there's someone who cannot stand, that's not meant to affect them in that way. But it's meant not to be a lounging area, okay? If you are truly using this device as an alternative to smoking, then just get your fix and leave. It's not meant to be sitting around, relaxing, enjoying. Hindi yun ang objective. So may ganung provision in my bill, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So we go on to the next issue.
Mr. Chair, just one.
The next issue.
Mr. Chair, just one manifestation.
Please do it quick because we've heard a lot on this issue already at the moment, Eric.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Chair, particularly for what Senator Pia Cayetano said, because with the Universal Healthcare Law, we have actually been very strict now with engagement with pharmaceutical companies attending conferences and then giving lectures and talking about the goodness of their products. No? And that is for legitimate pharmaceuticals. So I'd like to support Senator Pia Cayetano's point that we should not allow them, peddlers of nicotine products, to attend medical conferences and give lectures to medical students or healthcare professionals. I just wanted to make that point, Mr. Senator.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So the next point is another major issue, but I think we should take them all together already. No? Section 16 on product notification, because here jurisdiction is already mentioned, the DTI. No? So Section 16, Section 17, Section 20, and Section 18. Okay, so these four sections are all interrelated and has jurisdiction too. Okay, whether it should be the FDA or the DTI or an interagency to regulate the product, the heated tobacco and vape products. So let's open this to discussion. Can we hear first from the FDA and the DTI? Yes, FDA, Domingo, please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Nicotine is classified as a drug. When it's purified and then it's delivered in a way that it will be absorbed into the body, it's like any other drug. It has physiologic, short-term, and long-term effects. That's why we believe that we have to subscribe with the provisions of RA 11467 and EO 106, which are new and have been approved very recently, putting the regulation of such products under the FDA. Kasi po talagang hindi naman siya katulad ng ibang consumer products. Ito pinapasok sa katawan ito at may epekto siya sa katawan. Kung yun nga po mga childcare products, pagkain, supplements, nire-regulate po ng FDA, lalo na po ito na merong physiologic effect na might be long-lasting. Ano? And as a matter of something practical, Mr. Chair, I have to tell everybody that the FDA has been working for the past few years already on the regulatory structure of this. We are ready to license manufacturers, retailers, distributors. We are ready to accept applications for notification and registration of these products. And this is something that takes a lot of time. Kung ililipat na naman po, parang napakahirap. And I'm sure the Department of Trade does not have the experience with regulating products, which are very, very similar to food and drugs.
So thank you for that. Can we hear from the DTI?
Oh, yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, there are two things here to talk about, the liquid or the refillable matter and then the device. DTI is just regulating the device, Mr. Chair. We are actually preparing for testing equipment on HTTP devices, Mr. Chair. We are not certifying the refillable product, but the device itself. And that is the point that we were trying to raise earlier, Mr. Chair, that if this is going to be allowed, well, whether online or offline, sellers should make it clear that the products are licensed and then show the license so that consumers or buyers will be able to verify if the device has already passed certification process and testing by the department, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Ruth, just one question. No? Tobacco products today are regulated by the DTI, an interagency headed by the DTI. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. There is an interagency committee on tobacco products chaired by the department, Mr. Chair.
And is the FDA a member of that interagency?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and the Department of Health.
And the Department of Health. Okay.
Yes,
So
Mr.
now
Chair.
you have two different agencies regulating similar products.
Mr. Chair, the FDA is regulating the tobacco itself or the liquid tobacco. The DTI will regulate only the device, Mr. Chair, as a consumer product, just like all the other products that we regulate and test.
Okay. Do you have any comments on the different sections of the bill with regard to
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Please
Yes.
proceed.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we agree and support the provision in Senate Bill number 1951, Mr. Chair, allowing a 3-month period prior to the sale or manufacturing in the market that they should notify the department. And for all those that are already already in the market, Mr. Chair, we are allowing them a transitory period of also maybe 18 months or shorter for them to be able to dispose of these products, Mr. Chair, before we impose the regulation of the department on the devices, Mr. Chair.
Yes. But do you have any recommendations with regard to Section 17, product standard requirements for vapor products, refills, devices, and systems? I'd like to ask the same question also to FDA, and of course to Section 17, Section 18, because this one deals with heated tobacco products. I'd like to solicit comments from the DTI and the FDA on these two particular sections.
Oh, yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it is our proposal that since these two sections are very similar provisions, that they be consolidated and maybe revise the title with an introductory statement on product standard requirements for vapor products and heated tobacco products, Mr. Chair.
Okay. What about the elements in it? You have any
We
further?
have
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair. On 17-17A, if the intention of the law will mandatorily prohibit the addition of the substances, Mr. Chair, it is then proposed that we consolidate the two subsections of the Senate bill and revise them to read as follows. Should I continue to read it, Mr. Chair?
That's okay, Ruth. You can submit that to the committee.
We'll do that, Mr. Chair. Thank
For
you.
sure, you'll be part of a technical working group together with the FDA. So, Greg, any comments on section 17, 18?
Mr. Chair?
I'd like to recognize first FDA Domingo.
No, Mr. Chair, I was going to call Director Ana Rivera for she's the head of our Center for Drugs, for our comments on the standards.
Yes. Ana?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to also manifest that the FDA also has the mandate to set product standards. And in this case, for the liquid and the refills, we would defer the guidelines as we have already coordinated also with the DTI in terms of the devices. So for section 17, may we request that both DTI and FDA set the standards for these products. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you for your comments. Joey Dulay, could we hear from Joey?
Yes, Your Honor. We would just like to manifest also that we support the bills of Senator Zubiri and Soto and Recto. While we support it, there is just one section, section 17, in the restriction of flavors. Kasi po, ang flavors po, I'm talking as a vapor or a former smoker who have switched to vaping. Flavors has been an important factor for the switch. And as we go along and numerous studies come along that says vaping is less harmful than smoking, yun po ang pinangahawakan namin sa ngayon na kailangan magkaroon naman kami ng konting leeway. Just the adult smokers, no? Just the adult smokers, lahat ng committed na smokers and vapers na mabigyan naman po ng konting parang incentive to switch away from smoking, which is very known to have killed millions of people. Yung flavors po, talaga, meron naman po mga studies na pwede namin i-submit to the committee. We would also like to manifest our desire to send our studies to the committee.
Yes,
para mapatunayan po natin na nakakatulong po ang flavors sa pag-switch ng isang smoker sa pag-vape.
Okay, thank you, Joey. Senator Marcos wanted to take the floor. Amy?
No, I just wanted to make a comment and express the sense. I think I'm not the first senator to express my doubts about the capacity of the FDA to act quickly and efficiently, given the fact that it's truly overburdened with COVID vaccines, and given the record of delay, procrastination, and inefficiency. May I say, since there's an alternative, ibigay na muna natin sa DTI. May membership naman pala dyan yung FDA at saka yung DOH. At least for the moment, baka mas kaya naman nila dahil FDA is truly overburdened.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Ivy. Yes, DG Eric.
Just to make it clear, we do have backlogs in FDA.
Sorry, Dr. Eric.
No, but that's with the Center for Drugs. Yun po yung talaga yung mga gamot ang medyo mahaba ang pila. But this one will be launched in our Center for Cosmetics and Household Substances and others. So
I think
especially for this.
you'll have to tell that to Senator Tolentino, who has great doubts about that. Great doubts about that.
Okay.
Sir Chair,
Yes, please proceed. Dr. Limpin, is that Dr. Limpin? Yes.
Yes, so this is just to manifest the position of the Philippine College of Physicians that as far as regulating heated tobacco products, the e-cigarettes, we believe that that should fall under the mandate of the Food and Drug Administration. Foremost, Mr. Chair, let us remember that the FDA takes its mandate from RA 9711, and under the jurisdiction of the FDA, it includes health products, which refers to food, drugs, cosmetics, devices, which means medical devices, and also health-related devices. So these health-related devices refer to any device not used in healthcare but has been determined by the FDA to adversely affect the health of the people. So as far as regulating this product and including setting standards for these products, that will refer not only to the chemicals that are being put in the e-cigarettes, but also all the refillables as well as the device itself. FDA has the capacity. Now, if we want to really make sure that this regulation will be implemented more effectively and properly, wouldn't it be better to have just one agency to regulate these products instead of having too many? So I think, Your Honor, it is best that this regulation should be kept under the Food and Drug Administration. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Arnie Carino?
Yes, Mr.
Arnie,
Chair.
recognize Mr. Garcia. Yes, okay. Please proceed, Arnie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I hope you don't mind if I may take a few minutes because we're talking about three provisions. Let me just start quickly from a legal standpoint, Mr. Chair. The FDA jurisdiction on heated tobacco products came about during the syntax deliberation, which from a legal perspective is a regulatory rider. But be that as it may, we welcome this discussion because really this is an opportunity to thresh out things that weren't discussed during the syntax debate because that was a taxation measure with the regulatory riders on it. Having said that, we recognize that there is that still provision of FDA jurisdiction under the syntax law. But from a legal perspective, that should not be interpreted as having amended all other special laws on tobacco because we have many special laws on tobacco. One is Executive Order number 245. And under that EO, that's the charter of the NTA, it specifically provides for the jurisdiction of the NTA for standards for heated tobacco products. So that's my first point. Republic Act 9211 also considers heated tobacco products as a tobacco product. So for regulatory purposes, that special law was not also amended by RA 11467, and the provisions therein continue to be legal and valid to this date. The third point is even the FDA law, RA 9711, under Section 25 or 26, I think, expressly that tobacco products, those governed under Republic Act 9211, are not covered or not under the jurisdiction of the FDA. So I just wanted to be clear from a legal standpoint that, these multiple special laws on tobacco regulation should be harmonized. I think this is an opportunity for the Senate to do that. Having said that, Mr. Chair, I go now into science. Our heated tobacco products in the Philippines are not marketed or commercialized with any health claims. I'd like to they are not cessation products. We never said, there's no document for us saying that we never use it as we don't recommend it as a cessation product. It is a consumer product. It's not a health product. It is a consumer product, and it is a tobacco product. That's why we don't offer it to non-smokers or especially to the youth, or even to former smokers. If you go into our store, we have good conversion practices, and we make sure that only those adult smokers who would otherwise continue to smoke this, use these products, that's where we offer them. So, because that's very important, Mr. Chair, because if we're looking at the regulatory agency here, a regulatory agency should not be looking this as a health product or a pharmaceutical product, because if the government agency will be looking it from this lens, then definitely there will be irreconcilable difference. Because how can these products be safe? They are never safe in the first place. They are never effective in the first place as a pharmaceutical product. And this is where our position comes in. Our position should be whoever the regulator will be, should have that multifaceted lens that can regulate this product holistically. And I think that's why I think the DTI is the head of the interagency committee on tobacco, because this industry is multifaceted. We have the concerns of the tobacco farmers, we have the sale, advertising, intellectual property rights. Of course, there is also that health aspect. So for us, any government regulator, and we will leave it to the Senate to decide, should at least have that holistic approach. Secondly, there should be that technical capability. And when I say technical capability, in terms of product standards, we have the Bureau of Product Standards as the national setting body of the national. The people therein are the technical people who are monitoring international developments, international standards, and there is an approach on how we develop product standards. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the DTI has already issued a product standards for e-cigarettes even before the sin tax law was even passed. So I think government agencies like the DTI are already doing their job in terms of product standards development. So I would again suggest that we look at agencies who have that technical competency. If you're talking about importation, we have the Bureau of Import Services. If you're talking about intellectual property rights, health warnings, labeling, we have the Intellectual Property Office. And on this final point, I would say also that any government agency who should be regulating this should be a balanced regulator. And in the sense, should not have prejudged these products already. Because if a government agency is coming from the perspective of a prohibitionist approach, then these products would have been prejudged already. So those are some of the parameters that we're hoping that the Honorable Senate can look into. Because it's really important in terms of the jurisdiction that we have that balanced regulator. Because at the end of the day, let's not forget, cigarettes will be continued to be sold. And that's the public health purpose here. We know for a fact that Filipinos will continue smoking. There are 16 million Filipinos out there, and this number hasn't really changed in the past 5 or 6 years. And the annual quit rate is around 4%, very, very low. And that's the objective here. We want those adult smokers who would want to otherwise continue to use nicotine products to switch to these better alternatives. So if we go very restrictive on this, or if we have a regulator that does not look at this from that balancing perspective lens, then we would have allowed smoking to continue, and again, all these smoking related illnesses continue. So again, I appeal to this honorable body to consider that the importance of this jurisdiction when deciding, and as well as those product standards that we will implement. Let's not forget, this should always be pegged versus a cigarette product. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The next is Mr. Garcia, then Mr. Dator, then we will have the health advocates. Yes, please proceed. Mr. Garcia, you're on mute. Mr. Garcia, you're on mute. We can't hear you. There.
Magandang tanghali po. Clear na po ba?
Yes, please proceed.
Magandang tanghali po sa lahat ng membro ng komite. Ako po pala si Jose Garcia. Ako po yung representative ng Vapor Ako. Bilang consumer po, sumusuporta po kami sa Senate Bill 1951 ni Senator Recto. Mayroon lang po kaming comment issue dito sa Section 17 tungkol po sa prohibition of flavors. Sa madaling salita po, kung tatanggalin po ang flavors na to, mas lalo nyo pong mapapahirapan yung mga gustong mag-switch sa vaping. Ganon din po yung mga nakapag-switch na. So, tama po yung ano ni Sir Joey Dulay tungkol sa flavors. Mahirapan po kami sa wala pong flavors ang vape na ginagamit namin. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Mr. Dator?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to make a manifestation that in behalf of us, the Vapers PH, we support the position taken by Arnie earlier, that DTI is in a much better position to have jurisdiction over these products. May isa lang ho kaming concern din, sir. I was in a meeting before with Congress whereby I think it was mentioned there that some fundings from Bloomberg actually goes through certain agencies in the government. So that's something that we also want the good committee to also look into, because we already have it on the record that Bloomberg is pushing for banning the vaporized products. So yun lang po, sir, yung gusto naming sanang erase as consumers, because like myself, I've stuck to one flavor since I've started. So yun lang po, we just want to put that on record, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Doroteo, then Dr. Gonzalez, then FDA Director Ana, and then Attorney Ben.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We would support a ban on flavors because these flavors are attractive to young people, and the current legislation, as specified in the syntax law, already prohibits and limits flavors so that there are only tobacco and menthol flavors allowed. If the intention is really to help smokers to reduce their harm from smoking, then there should be no problem, because the most common flavors for cigarettes at the moment are tobacco and menthol. That said, we actually would support even banning menthol, because these are also attractive to young people so that they begin using e-cigarettes and even smoking. On the issue po of the FDA jurisdiction, we firmly believe that the FDA is the appropriate agency to regulate these products. We heard from DG Domingo that the FDA is prepared for regulating these products. We also know from our experience that the COVID vaccines are regulated under the FDA because of their mandate under the FDA law, and they are very capable of quick regulation when it is necessary for the public good. It's just that there really is a lot to regulate. No? So I would even put it to the body that the DTI can also be overwhelmed by regulating other products. That said, the health impact of these products is without question, and therefore it is the FDA that should rightfully regulate these products. We heard from Attorney Carino that these are not safe products. that they are harmful, and that's uncontested. And therefore, they really should be regulated by the FDA. In fact, when we think about how tobacco has been regulated under RA 9211 by the Interagency Committee, we know that the regulation, the implementation has not been very effective because we do see the same problems that we had when we began regulating tobacco products. There has been progress, but the progress has been slow. And one of the reasons for this is because the Department of Trade and Industry, and through its chairing of the Interagency Committee, has not really put its foot down with regard to tobacco products. So what more with these new products? No? Attorney Carino also pointed out that vapes are actually regulated under I 211 as a special law. And it made me wonder why heated tobacco products do not carry graphic health warnings if they are actually supposed to be regulated as the same as existing tobacco products. So we know they are not cessation devices. The industry has said so much to say that these are not health products. And yet, when they say that smokers should switch to these new products, the basis for recommending the switch is because they are supposedly less harmful and therefore reduce the risk to harm. So it is not true to say that these are not health products in the same way that we talk about vitamins or medicine, but these are products that have a huge impact on health, both individual health and public health. So regulating these products should put public health as a priority. And I'm sorry to say, a balanced regulation should be in favor of the public and public health, and not in favor of commercial interests. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Dr. Gonzalez, then Director Ana, Attorney Ben, and Mr. Mata. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In behalf of the children, we have done our nationwide online survey, what makes them take this and initiate the use of vape. So that's in February to March 2020. And we had a very good population of 11,500 students, grade 7 to 9. And number two in that list, aside from first is the online accessibility. Second is actually the availability of these varied flavors. Many of these kids and the young have this notion that these are just flavored puffs. Well, in fact, flavoring is a no-no in combination with nicotine because when heated, they also produce toxic chemicals. So unregulated flavors sends out a wrong signal to children that these are just flavored products. And then the second is we do approve the regulation should be for FDA. We have to take note that the e-cigarette epidemic in the United States, they have recognized their failure because they have never regulated, the e-cigarettes was never regulated by FDA in the first place. Shall we allow the e-cigarette epidemic among our kids? Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Attorney Ben. I'm sorry, Ana Rivera, Director Ana of FDA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, may we reiterate that the flavors are not just flavors, these are chemicals that were in inhalational exposure to these chemicals have toxicities and health effects. So examples of these flavor chemicals would include your aldehydes, your formaldehydes, which are carcinogens, acetaldehyde, acrylane, propionaldehyde, and diacetyls. So as far as the jurisdiction is concerned, um, the FDA law or RA 9711 mandates that the FDA takes charge of products that have effects on health. And this is clearly stated also in the preamble or in section 2 of the four proponents of these regulations in its declaration of policy. And may I state that it is hereby declared that the policy of the state is to promote and protect the right to health of the Filipino people and instill health consciousness among them. And since we consider it as something or these products that have some effects on health, therefore, FDA should have this jurisdiction. And in terms of the performance of the FDA, may we inform the committee that sometime before we had the um, temporary restraining order, we have already started licensing establishments and to inform the committee that we observe the ease of doing business and our performance in terms of the licensing is that on the average we churn out one LTO in 9 days. So this is within the 20 days that we have our timelines in terms of the license to operate. So again, FDA is ready to regulate, and we hope that the committee also sees this as um, um, the future of this regulation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Just one question, FDA Director. No? Are heated tobacco products and vape products less harmful than tobacco products? What is the thinking of the FDA here?
So based on the evidence, based on the scientific evidence, there is reduction in the exposure. But in terms of harm, especially in the long term, we still don't know. There is a paucity of evidence or dearth of evidence because it only started in the early 2000s. And in terms of our endpoints, that if we try to say that the endpoint is cancer, it would take 20 years before we find out whether this type of product can already cause cancer. So as of this time, there are a lot of uncertainty factors. And if we add on the different flavors, then we have to monitor each and every impact of this flavor to health because each and every chemical would have different impacts to health.
Yes. So based on your answer, partially, you are also saying it is less harmful.
There is less exposure, Your Honor, not harmful. We cannot say that it is less harmful.
Thank you for that.
There is cancer in this product and there is cancer in this product, so we cannot say there is less cancer in this product.
Yes, so we're not saying that. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Attorney Ben of Health Justice.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, for this chance. Health Justice po is a tobacco control advocacy group, and based on our tobacco control experience and as supported po by scientific studies, flavor on tobacco products is particularly attractive to children and young adults. 81% of youth and 86% of young adult ever tobacco users reported that their first product was flavored versus 54% of adults. So in terms of vaping, Your Honor, we have data saying that 3/4 of young vapers choose flavored e-cigarettes with fruit and candy being the top two choices. That's why youth are most likely to use flavors based from fruit and candies than adults. So we will also submit these studies, Your Honor, to the Honorable Committee for their consideration. From a legal standpoint naman po, Your Honor, it's our position that RA 11467 is clear in giving FDA the jurisdiction to regulate these products and that the repealing clause of the this syntax law is sufficient to have amended other laws inconsistent with this superseding law. Otherwise, Congress would have indicated that in the law. Thus, Your Honor, we support the position that FDA should be allowed and supported in implementing these regulatory measures. We should remember, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, that the full implementation of the law is still by May 2022, and now we're already discussing the amendments today. That's why, Your Honor, what we want to do is to give FDA a chance and support them with the necessary funding to exercise their mandate. It is in their charter to regulate harmful substances, and it is in RA 11467 that this mandate is reinforced and is strengthened. Thank you very much po, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Mata.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would like to manifest also that we find the Senate Bill 1951 up to date and aligned with this recent scientific and academic developments on tobacco harm reduction. This being said, also to raise concerns on the Section 17, which prohibits fruit flavors, nuts, coffee, tea, vanilla, and caramel flavors. Uh, flavored liquids. As an advocate for sustainable ways of quitting the smoking habit, prohibition of these flavors will be counterproductive and will in effect keep the smokers from switching to better alternatives. Thus, we respectfully propose that this prohibiting flavors be removed. Banning flavors outright would in fact amount to a prohibition of vapor products because vapor products are inherently flavored products. Okay? Research tells us that non-tobacco flavors are extremely important to adults who are trying to veer away from smoking combustible cigarettes. There are many international studies, and we would like to submit to your committee proving that flavors in vapor products help smokers quit combustible cigarettes, and they are not as harmful as tobacco cigarettes. I can send the studies after this hearing and through our position paper to be submitted later on. Let me stress that flavors are not the problem. It is the combustion we find in smoking combustible tobacco. It is where we get the smoking-related diseases. The ill effects of such an immediate ban are far-reaching. This may increase health risks as it encourages them to seek out combustible cigarettes or to access the black market. I hope, though, that the points I've made thus far, that it has been made clear to everyone that we need to avoid this scenario at all costs. This has a very dangerous health risk to undertake.
Thank you. Yusek Castello from DTI.
Mr. Chair, we express support for the limitation on the flavors, Mr. Chair, to the two most common limitations. We understand that candy flavors or fruit flavors are a big attraction to young people, and those who have not started smoking, Mr. Chair, might be prevented from starting to smoke. So we support this, Mr. Chair. As to the medical device that have been proposed to be tested by DTI or for standards to be imposed or implemented by the DTI, Mr. Chair, it was mentioned earlier that we have the Bureau of Philippine Standards as the Philippine Standards body. So just as similar as our testing capability for other electronic products, we are also preparing for testing of the device, not the tobacco, Mr. Chair. We just want to emphasize that we have no capability on the tobacco or the refill, but we do have strong capability as to the device, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. At this juncture, I think we've discussed already basically almost all the sections of the different bills.
Mr. Chair.
Major points of discussion, no? Which was I will recognize you, Senator Pia, right after this. We've discussed age restriction. We've discussed online trade. We've discussed flavors. We've discussed health warnings. We've discussed product notification, license to operate, product registration, and we've discussed regulatory agency jurisdiction. Okay? I think those are the 6 most important issues incorporated in the 4 bills that we're discussing. No? At this juncture, no one is prevented from submitting your position papers, and we have requested all of you to provide the committee with your position papers written. Unfortunately, I do have another meeting to attend to, just like many others. But before I'd like to thank all our resource persons and members of the committee and authors of the different bills for being present this morning. But before I end our discussion today, may I again recognize Senator Pia for the last words. Thank you, Senator Pia. Please proceed.
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Chair, this is very quick questions, yes or no questions lang naman doon sa dalawang nagsalita, no? For Mr. Arnie Carino, you're a lawyer, sir? Are you a lawyer?
Yes, po.
Yes, you're a lawyer. So may I remind you that your statement that our law, the syntax law, cannot amend an EO is incorrect, and you should know that. So I won't go into the details, but you made that statement. The law is the law. Okay, any EO, no matter how lengthy or how detailed it is, can be amended by a law, not the other way around. So just to be clear about that. So the syntax law stands, and I'd like to reiterate my position that it is a very new law. I regret that the way Mr. Carino positioned his statement is that it was not well discussed. It was well discussed. I can assure you of that because I was chair of the Committee on Health for 9 years. So before we brought it to the floor, we had lengthy discussions, and I've always made it clear that tax regulation is a means to attain our health objectives. So that was very clear. So please do not say that it was not well discussed, okay? Next point, I'd also like to make it clear, this had to do with his statement as well, among others, that there is a pending case in court because the FDA law, which is also my law, which passed almost 10 years ago, was questioned by the cigarette companies because they do not want DOH or FDA to regulate this very sinful and harmful product called tobacco. So even way back before e-cigs was in the picture, they already filed a case to prevent the FDA from getting jurisdiction over this. So that is the reason why hati ito. That's the reason, because of your lobby. I do not hesitate to say that because clearly these tobacco companies did not want to be regulated by the FDA, and that's why they filed the case. It's black and white, no? So the reason why we have this division is because ayaw nyo magpa-regulate sa FDA. So next question is for Mr. Lorenzo Mata. Sir, are you a doctor? Mr.
Yes,
Mata,
ma'am.
are you a doctor?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You are a doctor.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a difference in opinion with the other doctors about the harmful effect of flavor. So let's just
Yes.
pick that off
Yes,
record.
because-
I don't need an explanation, sir. I just wanted to understand where you were coming from when you were making statements about flavors not being harmful and the dangerous health risks. We can go into that later. Now, I'd like to respect the time of the chair and the time of everyone else. So I respect your opinion. I don't agree, but I respect your opinion because you're a doctor, and if that's what you want to say, that's sa inyo po yun. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank you for a very well-organized and orderly hearing. I appreciate that all our resource persons were given a chance to express their views. I also learn intently from both sides. Please make no mistake. Yes, I am a dedicated health advocate, but I attend any event that I am invited to further educate myself on these products, whether it's from a sales and distribution regulatory perspective or from the disagreeing provisions on health. I always listen, and that is the reason why I was in the United Kingdom. One last point that I want to mention, I mentioned the university that had resource persons speak about e-cigs and vapes, and what he pointed out to us was that even though the numbers showed that the uptake of cigarettes declined when people started using e-cigs and vapes, it is no difference from the decline that was seen when they used other cessation devices. So there was no conclusion, at least in the London or the UK data that was presented to us, to show that there was more of a shift or a decrease in the use of cigarettes simply because of the e-cigs and vapes, because these people were also either using other devices or separately, it was not taken into consideration how effective the other cessation devices were. Which brings me back to my point. The industry keeps on insisting that it is not meant to be a cessation device. It should be monitored by DTI, but yet, without saying the word cessation, you are marketing it as a cessation device. So that is the point I'd like to make. Again, thank you, Mr. Chair, for this very informative and well-organized hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Pia. Thank you for your concern. And to all our resource persons, maraming salamat for educating us in the committee. We appreciate your presence and your participation. We look forward to looking at and reading your position papers on the matter. But like I said, I think most of the major issues have been discussed. We will review your position papers moving forward. I am sure we will be creating a technical working group And that will also include the authors of the different bills which we discussed today. So also to the minority leader for his interest in this measure. Again, thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.